intro before.
The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow Poke helping you protect what matters most. Hello and welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. Podcast hosted here by Calvin Glenn Alexander, hence the name, with my fellow co-host here, Trey Florence. Trey, how's it going?
I'm surviving. I've made it through or at least I didn't make it through, but my wife made it through a 12-hour plus labor. So here we are. We're doing great with all that lack of sleep and everything.
Well, we had a fill-in last week that went incredibly well, but we're glad to see you back here with us, and congratulations on the newborn as well there. I got to ask you, though, have you been able to catch any of the University of North Texas versus Tulane college football game?
Yes.
Were you able to tune in a little bit, see what our new head coach, who is a former running back and wide receiver, be able to do that too?
I mean, it wasn't terrible. At least the first quarter was pretty good for the Mean Green. I always just like saying the Mean Green. But eventually the green, man, it's just green on green. But the first quarter wasn't too bad, but then they kind of blew it in the second quarter. And then it was still a very close competitive game. Am I sad that they lost? Yeah, but it still was overall a very entertaining game, at least. And it shows at least hope for what will eventually become the OSU style of play. So that's always nice to see. Now, my question is, does that quarterback, I think his name is Messmaker for North Texas, do you think he's going to come over to OSU? The only thing I'm worried about is his interceptions, but that's would be an improvement from our current one, that's for sure. Yeah,
really, I got to say, listening to a lot of podcasts over this weekend from national media talking about, Oregon boosting the resume, but they beat some of the worst Power 5 teams. And I'm like, oh gosh, they're going to mention Oklahoma State. It's the first one every time. I mean,
of course,
that bad. So we'll take any improvement. I love it. But this is a game that just looked really weird. It just didn't seem like the North Texas offense that I've been watching for multiple weeks. I'm not going to say I'd watched the whole season, but as more and more of the Eric Morris, former running back and wide receiver in the Big 12, got kind of closer to be taking the Oklahoma State role, or at least that's what all of the news outlets and as well as the CGA Tour podcast guests were saying as well too. Then it was, hey, who is this guy? Like, what's going on? And research more about the team. And then it was, okay, Drew Messmaker's pretty good, but maybe just Tulane had their number. It just seemed like an off night. I'm not going to say it's a systemic deal. It does deflate a little bit of my hopes of Eric Morris. Like just because think how cool it would have been to go to, I don't know, Alabama and pulled off like an overtime game, even if you lose, or just be in it for one more weekend. Is really the deal at the end of the day. Right. Now, am I also like, well, he gets to Stillwater a little bit faster and gets recruiting a little bit quicker for Oklahoma State as his whole priority instead of part of his priority? Okay, I'll take it. There's it would be that there were so many times on the broadcast they mentioned and future Oklahoma State head coach, actually current Oklahoma State head coach, and however you want to mention it. He's coached out the rest of the season for North Texas, unlike some universities are letting their schools do, and basically being a Lane Kiffin in a way or a roundabout way. But it was mentioned several times, Oklahoma State fandom, and that's fantastic.
I'm sure he had other priorities at that moment in time. I know he wants to help out his seniors, make sure his seniors do great, but also I'm sure he's thinking, now I got to move. Now, did I make sure I packed everything? Did I pack everything there? And I'm sure he had other priorities at that moment in time. Who could know? Who knows? But I'm still excited because it's just a new opportunity. And overall, the season that they've had, they were very well overall. Like, I will take 11-2 considering we haven't won a game and feels like forever. So I'll definitely take that.
Well, and Messmaker had a bad game. If you want to just go down what happened here, weirdly enough, their quarterback, Oklahoma State played before, that's where Jake Retzlaff ended up, the BYU transfer. He's now in the college football playoffs, and BYU's not, weirdly enough, which
that's weird
at the very end. But all of their overview, there's Jake Retzlaff does not have a throwing touchdown. The rushing yards is 22 carries for 121 yards by Jamari McClure. I'm saying Tulane stats for a touchdown. They did not put up a ton of offensive stats that are oh my gosh, that's what happened.
Right.
And you know what? It really wasn't a game after the second quarter because I guess Tulane just poured it on. I mean, they scored 17 points to go into halftime.
Yeah.
After they'd already been tied in the first quarter. And it's a deflating because the next topic here is we're bringing the DC. All reports are Skylar Cassidy, who you see up in the photo here. His brother played for Oklahoma State, Braden Cassidy. But Skylar Cassidy is the defensive coordinator for the Mean Green and is now, apparently, all reports are joining Eric Morris in Stillwater at some point. Unsure exactly timelines. He might be coaching out the end of the season for UNT's defense, and then coming up, not exactly sure. The reports are all
over the place, right?
So when I see Marshall Scott with pistolsfiringblog.com put it out, boom, there you go. That's the official word, because Marshall does not deal in the written word being rumors necessarily, unless he's going to label it that way. But shout out to Marshall for coming on the podcast this week. That's the shout I have for them. They shouted us out. I don't know if they shouted us out on their Reload podcast. So
look at them.
Yeah, always. Anyways, I'm a little worried from that aspect because John Summerall is the Tulane head coach who also is moving on to Florida. I think he is a really good head coach as well.
Right.
Hopefully we face them again because hopefully Florida does really well and we do really well because we're not currently scheduled to face each other in any form or fashion in football. Oklahoma State and Florida for any time in the future that's anywhere out there. So that's what I'd say is that it's a little odd, a little deflating. But at the same point, Eric Morris gets to Stillwater today. And I mean, what did you think of the press conference, right? The guy handled it like a champ.
Very, very professional. It was very nice to see that. And then also just his family experiencing, going through the whole facility, going through, the entrance of everything. And then, of course, going and saying something along the lines of I've always been to Boone Pickens stadiums and I could never win here or something like that. It was just very humbling and it just seemed very nice. I feel hopeful. And all the questions that he answered it obviously very strategically, kind of like what you kind of have to do right now with the new head job. But I felt very good about all those questions that he answered.
Yeah, I mean, he said he's never won in Stillwater, which is really just tough to believe. I mean, 05 to 08, I'm sure they've got a win in there when he was a player. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech had. I mean, I'll Google it real quick here in a second. But what did you take away from his remarks about Bedlam? That's the next thing on the list here, the topics, but it's not about football.
I know, wrong one. Remind me what he said about Bedlam. I don't think I saw.
He's all for it coming back. He's like, whoever I need to be in contact with, whoever I need to talk to, let's get it going.
I overall with Bedlam, I feel like that doesn't help us. It only helps OU, I feel like, especially if OU wins, because then they could say, hey, we won a non-conference thing and everything like that, because in theory we should be better at that moment in time. I don't know how soon we're going to be better, but in theory we'll be better. But as far as having Bedlam, do I miss it? Absolutely, because I love talking to my OU friends and colleagues and giving them crap during that week. But also at the same time, they're in two different conferences, and as we kind of saw, with the whole playoffs and everything like that, that could actually hurt our chances to have this game. Sometimes it can help us, but I feel like it would overall hurt us because we would have it so close to the end of the season traditionally. I know they would probably throw it up towards the beginning of the year, but traditionally it's always been towards the end of the year, if not the last game, the second to last game, sometime early December-ish, late November. So I feel like that would just overall hurt us, but that's just my opinion on that front, especially because they're in two different conferences.
Very true. Just for reference here, Eric Morris did not win in Stillwater in his time at Texas Tech. Literally, it was home and home, win and win. So he beat Stillwater He beat Oklahoma State, but only in Lubbock. In the 4 years he was there, which is twice, and lost in Stillwater twice. Anyways, I really like the idea of Bedlam coming back because at this point we need to see how we stack up. Like, regardless of if I want to be the guy who's wearing orange down in Norman on Tuesday nights when I go play basketball and have to change out of all my work attire into gym clothes or not, that is something that I will always want to have back because it just brings so much energy, I think, to the state. Mm-hmm. It brings a lot of stuff to the state economy, period, just the state. I mean, college game day, like the time we got to work it together, the other time I got to work it after you graduated. Right. Just had to leave to graduate early there, Trey, / on time. But
/ on time.
Well, I added a degree. It's different.
Yeah, true.
There's a lot of me that wants to have Bedlam back, but at the same point, sometimes the worst version of myself was also when Bedlam came out because it was so energized and it was so like emotional of those losses. They hurt so much, like that 90 and whatever. Like it sucks to hear, but at the same point, I want it back. It seems like it should be a thing. You know what I'm really sick of losing? Losing to Tulsa. Like we lost to Tulsa this year. And that kind of to me is like, all right, Bedlam should be back. Because if we're going to lose a game to Tulsa at home for the first time since the 50s, maybe the 40s even, it was something like 75 plus years ago, was the last time Tulsa beat Oklahoma State in Stillwater on Lewis Field, where football wasn't like it is today. It wasn't recognizable. My point being, bring Bedlam back. Because what's worse than losing Bedlam? Losing to Tulsa. We already did that. So you might as well bring Bedlam back. And, I'm all for it. We're not going to, in our lifetimes, I don't see us overcoming the 90 wins and having 70 or 60 plus more wins in our lifetimes. I mean, it will legitimately be Oklahoma State wins every single one until we die.
Right. Basically.
So you know what? Bring it back because then all of the best people I know who went to Oklahoma State come back, talk about Oklahoma State football, brings in excitement. It gives us a chance to see how we match up against the SEC. Because I'm all talking about this from a victim's mentality. I get it. When I'm saying all this. Because I'm like, what have I seen? I've seen Gundy do it 3 times in his 20 years. Okay. And I saw Les Miles do it twice. I've seen it happen 5 times in my lifetime, of which, to be honest, 3 times I can remember. Yeah. I don't remember the Les Miles years.
No, I don't remember them much.
I remember the T-shirts. That's it.
Eskimo Joe T-shirts. That's about all I got.
Yeah. So I would love for Bedlam to come back because it just brings out, I think it brings out such an emotional response. There's almost part of me that doesn't want to have it back because I get so emotional about it. But that's more of like some middle school and elementary school, like kind of just like I was one of the 3 kids wearing orange.
Right.
And not
everybody else was red
today. Oh, yeah. Well, and also, wife's entire family are big OU fans. So, there's just kind of, that's not the greatest, but at the same point, like when you live in Oklahoma City, you're going to find some people who are OU fans. You just, where I'm not living in Stillwater, working there, but I'm not living there. So anyways, what else from the official welcome thing stood out to you? Anything else? The fact that he started out with Go Pokes.
That's always great. It's I know like everybody's wants to dive deep on some of the stuff, but it's just like too soon to tell type of thing. Like, yes, I'm glad that he's about to bring in probably his North Texas defensive coordinator to be ours. Granted, I feel like our defense was pretty good towards the end. They finally figured it out towards the end. So, granted, North Texas defense has been pretty solid for the most part, throughout the whole entire year, besides like a few games here and there where they lost kind of bad, where they lost like 63-36, but that was against South Florida at the time. That was ranked 24th. And once again, in a totally different division than they were. So overall, I feel excited because it looks like we're going to have a solid defense that will probably give up maybe 20, 21 points, 24 points, somewhere in there. And then if everything goes well with our offense, that's the whole goal. We're at least going to be scoring 40 points. So that's the part that I'm kind of like super excited to see is this dynamic. It feels more like whenever we won the BCS against Stanford. It feels like that year with how the defense is going to hopefully line out and the offense how it should line out.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Morris and the UNT Mean Green, they lost one game this season in regular season, 63-36. So they can have a defensive, just horrific game. Now, granted, it's against South Florida.
Yeah.
And that's pretty darn it's not against it's not Lamar, something weird. They did beat Western Michigan in overtime, but that's the second game of the season. They beat Army in overtime. Fourth game of the season. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to go to say this here. UNT in their worst, most amount of points anyone scored on this season was Army in 38 in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, it's been basically, 34 against Tulane recently here and 30 in overtime against Western Michigan. And I don't think that Eric Morris is designing an offense that's going to score less than 30. So with all that going together, I'm all for it. I think that this is a way that Oklahoma State can have a really trusted defensive guy on the team. I mean, that's who it is. That's honestly all the chips are in. Like Eric Morris, like if Skylar Cassidy is not the guy, that's going to be on you to part ways with your friend and figure it out. But you know what? I'm not going anything negative. That feels weird. It feels weird to say make that comment because this is all so new and so exciting. I love that he's like first things. Let me get out of the way. Go Pokes, and then straight into there, emotional about his wife and how she's like, there's a special place in heaven for his wife. I mean, he just truly seems like a salt of the earth type of guy, to be honest, and love that Barrett.
He's going to fit really well. Like it seems like he's got that natural Southern charm. So he's going to fit very well.
He's from Shallow Water, Texas. So another water, with an S. Similar amount of letters. I mean, how much closer can it get? The town that he grew up in though is like 2,000 to 3,000 people. So seriously smaller than Stillwater, of course. It's 49,000 people, but just I love that he's like bought in on Stillwater, wanted to raise my kids in a small town, is saying all the right things, doing all the right things. There's no weird like who is it for the New York Jets a while back that made the stories of like Adam Gase where he's just like, like this the entire time? Like yeah, question over there. Yeah, I mean, he's just you can clearly tell he wins over a room when he's in recruiting circles, all type of stuff. And he may not be Mike Gundy-esque with the mullet or whatever. He may be much more straightforward kind of guy, but you know what? We're turning this ship into a new direction, no matter what. So, and I really do love that Weiberg got up there on stage and immediately says, we want to thank Mike Gundy and his wife and all of their kids and stuff, and everyone who worked with the staff. And Blake Jarwin was there. He's a hopeful, knock on wood, future podcast guest. We'll see. We're trying to line it up. And some others. So really cool overall. Anyways, with all that being said here, Bedlam. This weekend, you got the men and the women playing a doubleheader. Got the men's game at noon. I'll be there personally. The CGA Tour man himself will be there. If you're going, send a DM on Twitter or a note or whatever you want to do, because we'd love to meet up with some people and maybe get you in a podcast episode. It'd be truly great. But Trey, what do you think about Bedlam this weekend?
I definitely feel like we're going to probably win because I feel like we're going to win. That's right now what my feeling is, just because of how well we've been playing. Now, ESPN is saying that there's a 64.4% chance that OU is going to win, but I feel like we will probably have a kind of like almost like the Northwestern game. I feel like it's going to be like that. I know, once again, we haven't been really truly tested. Yes, we had A&M and then Northwestern. That's our two like kind of bigger games. And I know OU's technically had Gonzaga where they got they lost by like almost 20 against Gonzaga. And then they also lost by 16 to Arizona State. So I know that they've at least had better preseason. I guess you can say preseason because we're not in the conference play yet. They've had better opponents preseason, but I feel like we're going to win this one.
I feel good about it too. The reason being, we're 9-0. We've got the third longest winning streak in the nation. Woo! I mean, we seem to figure it out.
Right,
That's
we
what
really
I love
do.
about this team so far. Parsifala is the starting forward for your Big 12 Team of the Week for everyone that cares about that information, that kind of award deal of team of the week and multiple players on it. But it's been so long. We haven't been ranked since 2021.
We're close.
We're 27th. We're 27th right now.
Right.
Everything's going orange. Now, would that mean that OU would be lined up to right there, just kick us right there in the nuts? Like, yeah, probably, honestly.
They always do.
but let me get excited about the team for a second.
Yeah.
Let me get a good Go Pokes in there, because like this is what we should be wanting to see, is like these matchups. Oh, the SEC last year had more teams in than the Big 12, and the Big 12's down, and whatever it may be. It might be like that. I cannot lie to anyone. It may be that the SEC is better this year in basketball again, and that Big 12 falters out because one of those unbeaten teams so far is Colorado, who, like us, was not supposed to be unbeaten for this long, and it's not supposed to be having a great season, and Colorado seems to be doing fine. I'll leave it at that, because I don't know that much about Colorado's basketball team this year.
Do you want to know the bad news? They've lost.
Well, yeah, I mean, but they were like on that unbeaten map. Yeah. Of like the last unbeaten team takes over the U.S. Like they were with us. Arizona got the whole West Coast.
Yeah, that's true.
Right now, they're still unbeaten. Ken Palms gives a 53% chance on a neutral site win.
I like them.
Oklahoma State wins. I'm all for it. Like, I can't see like why I shouldn't be into a Oklahoma State win. When can I give you some stats to make you feel just horrible about this team?
Oh, I can't wait. Go for it.
We are just not a 3-point shooting team.
Oh, we knew that.
Well, but when OU has the ball, our defense, we shut them down. Mm-hmm. Like no one hits threes against us. That's the thing we got going for us right now.
Right.
And we've got some guards who can score. Like Anthony Roy can hit some big shots. Victorious Miller can hit some big shots.
Right.
Kanye Clary can hit some big shots. Lefterius Mazakis can hit some big shots. Like flawless pronunciation. Don't need to tell me. I just is like we have so many guys who can make buckets, and then we also have Fala, who's averaged 24.5 points on the week. That's 6'10". How long has it been since a guy scored 20 plus points for us in a game?
It's been a while.
I'll tell you this. It has been a decade since an OSU guy has played against a Power 4 or similar opponent. That's really, I'm going this hardcore diverging to similar right here. I mean, and score more than 20 points in the game. It has been a long time. That's my point. Yeah. So 6'10". We've got that. We've got Christian Coleman. There's so many guys that I know their names before the non-conference season schedule is even over.
And it's great.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit has to do with the basketball basically being on fire and football ending horrifically, honestly.
We stopped watching football, I felt like, in September.
Speak for yourself, because I went to games. Hey, when the suite tickets for a game, the club tickets for a game are marked down to $119 a ticket, when they are face value $500 for senior day against Iowa State, that we're trying to sell some tickets. And hey, I'll tell you what, we made it worth it. We got breakfast, lunch, and could have taken home dinner. I mean, it was.
I have no doubt. Oh yeah, it was a great deal.
But I just know so many of the OU Bedlam just BS that's going on this year. I mean, like, bench minutes wise, personnel, we've got more. Our experience, just like OU's got more experience than we do overall. But our average
have depth.
We have average height, Trey.
Oh, we do now?
Have average height. We have 77.8 inches to their 77.2 inches. What up?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on KenPop.com, clearly reading off some stats here. But you know what? It's just a lot of fun to think that this Oklahoma State team can really compete against OU this year. It doesn't need to be fluky. You can just work out. They're currently projected by KenPop.com to win by 1. And it's what is known as a neutral game. But Oklahoma State's 49th in the country, OU's 58th.
And let's be honest.
For KenPom rankings. Just throw that there.
And let's be honest, too. Like, it's not really a neutral site. It's going to be probably 75% OU fans and probably about 25% OSU fans at the Paycom Center. At least my theory. I know that they're supposed to split it half and half, but it's usually how that goes.
Well, you can't split it on like people buying tickets, right? So we bought tickets. I hope on the OSU side of it. I we bought tickets not behind the benches. We bought tickets on the opposite side. So, and I think we did. It'll be for me. Just think about it. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. Can't wait. We've got a whole week off in between. Hopefully, Robert Jennings III comes back before too long because he was starting some games. Now he's been injured and been out some games, and we're still undefeated. Look at us. Just like the Oklahoma State Thunder, we can miss guys out of the lineup and still be good. But we just – this would be one heck of a great, like, maybe just immediate post-game podcast putting it up, because that would be a great deal just to be, hey, we beat OU. Last year we didn't. It was just last-minute loss. And this year, I feel like we can pull it out. Feel good about it.
And then just for a brief second, I feel like the ladies, got to look at the ladies. I feel like the ladies are going to have an uphill battle because Oklahoma is ranked number 9. We're ranked 24th, 23rd. So I feel like this one is definitely going to probably go towards OU on that one. I still feel like it's going to be a close game because overall, team stat wise, we are scoring more points than OU. OU's averaging about 93 points, and OSU's averaging about 96.4 points. So it's still going to be I feel like a high scoring game. But I want OSU ladies to win, but I don't know. I feel like this one's probably going to go towards OU.
Not shocked that OU is still great at women's basketball, like they always have been, and
they will
be this year as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just not super shocking to me. But you know what? I know we can score.
Oh yeah,
we're putting up like 130 plus points in games multiple times this year. We had our coach calling timeout on purpose at some point to make jokes with the fans.
That was great. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it just listen. The last matchup did not go our way.
No,
it's in February. We lost by 30 plus. Not terrific, but you know what? I feel like this team can just score a ton of points. So we'll have to see how it works out. Just see how it goes. Leave it all on the court, ladies. I don't know. Just like
they got this.
Yeah. How much of your expectations have been raised since the season started from how good we've been doing so far in men's hoop specifically?
And men's, I feel like, I know we started off, I think we were like saying 8-6 or not 8-6, a 9-8 type of buy-in. It depends on how the conference play goes, obviously, and how tomorrow not tomorrow, but whenever we play OU. Brain sleep, great, going well right now, as you can tell. But I feel like we're still a solid probably 8 seed right now. We could potentially move up to, I could see us potentially getting up to a 5 seed at some point, just depending on how everything's going. But we just have to work through everything and just make sure everything's going well. So current stat, I still think we're going to be probably an 8, but hopeful stat, 5 seed.
My expectations have been raised a lot, I got to be honest, just because I did not think we'd be 9-0. I thought we'd lose to Northwestern, possibly also Grand Canyon. Both away games. Northwestern one is really pretty remarkable from how much the refs got in there and started just murking things up with foul calls that didn't really seem there for both teams, just really interrupting play. A 9:51 p.m. local tip on Thanksgiving night. Don't love that for the guys.
Right.
Who are going out of state to play their first away game. But then you kind of work yourself through that one, and it seems like, okay, when's the next test coming? And it was Grand Canyon this past weekend, and we still were able. I mean, Kanye Clary, again, his long wingspan, getting shots up. Just pretty incredible, to be honest. So I'm really looking forward to see how good this team ends up being. I think like a 7-5-7, seed is somewhere in there. For whatever reason, I just don't think we'll be a 6 seed. But I can see us just moving up a little bit. When Big 12 play comes and we see how good we really are, then we'll know.
Right.
Like, hey, is this team really good, or is this team kind of good? And how does the Steve Lutz offense mesh with teams like Iowa State, who have held teams in the past to 40 points a game when we're putting up over 80? Like, how's this all going to work out? But for the time being, hey, let's follows the man. Like, let's get out,
Mm-hmm.
let's run, let's see what we can do. Should be pretty incredible, I would think. And hopefully we can pull out a win this weekend. So I'm hoping with you like a 5 seed. I think 7 seed is probably more realistic. And we're going to keep tracking this week to week here. We're going to see how much of our expectations is lowered. So we're both saying 5 seed right now is high end expectation, right?
Right. Yeah.
We'll be back next week with an update on that. Got to ask you though, last night or yesterday during the day, I watched too much NFL football to know what time of the day it came out.
Yep.
But it somehow popped up on my social media, Twitter feeds and stuff, that Miami is making the college football playoff and Notre Dame is not going to a bowl game whatsoever. They
not doing anything.
Whole thing.
Yep.
They are taking their ball and they are going home because they feel bad. I don't blame them for feeling bad.
I don't love it.
I don't love it. I think Miami should have just been ranked ahead of them this whole time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I don't know, they won the head-to-head. They both had 2 losses. At one point, Miami is no longer ranked ahead of Notre Dame. It's probably after they lose 2 ACC games to 2 teams that ended the season 8-4.
Right.
Notre Dame's 2 losses to Miami and Texas A&M.
Yep.
I get it. Notre Dame's 2 losses are not as bad as Miami's 2 losses. But you know what happened? They have such a similar strength schedule, such a similar rankings, and everything, that, you know what, we're going to go back to the time they played each other in person, and it wasn't
head to head. Yep.
And you know what I'd say? I want to ask you what you think as well, too, but just first here, this is what you get for not being in a conference, Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, if Notre Dame was in the ACC, they'd be in.
Yeah.
If they were in the Big Ten, probably with the same record, they'd be in. Yep. Now, also, someone's got to explain it to me how you do not have the 2 highest ranked SEC teams play each other and the 2 highest ranked ACC and et cetera. For like, Duke won a 5-team. One is the wrong word too, because they won the ACC championship, but
right,
they won a 5-team tiebreaker to play over Miami. Like, that just shouldn't have happened. But anyways, what do you think about all this? There's clearly a ton of things.
There's a lot to break down on this. At least I feel like they got a lot of pressure, that's for sure, because everybody was protesting and, flying airplanes around the facility saying, please put Miami in, basically. So I feel like overall that is fine with me that Miami's in, because I hate that. I don't hate it, but I wish that Notre Dame would actually be in a conference. They are in a conference in every other sport that they play. They're just not in football, which I get it. They want to be unique. They want to keep their NBC deal. They want to do all that fun stuff. Great. Love that for you. But also at the same time, you're going to live and die off of that type of mentality. So granted, should they have won some of those games earlier on? Absolutely. If you would have won, we would have had no questions about this. So it's just like if they beat A&M, because A&M was pretty close, I believe. But like, if you win some of these games, you're in. That's it. But of course, now that you're not in a conference, you don't have a conference championship to play, which that's a whole nother debacle in itself. But I'm okay with Miami getting in over Notre Dame. What I'm not happy with that they got over in was BYU, which I know that we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, but that's how I feel. I feel like the head-to-head, at least they respected that portion of things, which I'm glad that they did, because if they didn't, I feel like that would have caused chaos.
And let's talk about it right here, right now. I mean, I think just how does BYU not get in?
Yeah, how does
I understand BYU has not played all the same amount of opponents or whatever we want to say, but BYU's 2 losses are both to the Big 12 champion.
And it's a road game and it's a neutral site. They didn't have a home game of this, so that's like another factor put into that. And so they're out of all the teams, I feel like they got snubbed the most from this whole entire playoffs. Now I know everybody's like, let's extend it. And then of course we're going to go into the issue of like, okay, cool. We do 18 or 16 or whatever, how big they want to expand it. There's always going to be a issue. I feel like that's our problem right now. There's always going to be an issue, especially now that people like let's just be honest. The whole bowl game systems now is dead. Every school's going to probably try to opt out, which I get it, but also we need to probably put some type of stipulation in there. Like if you skip one bowl game, you can't, like if you make it in the playoffs, you can't play or something like that. There needs to be something in there so that I get it. I get it for the players. They're trying to make it to the NFL level or transfer, just make sure that they're safe, healthy, and, trying to get the most money. I get that. Yes, some of the, colleges are getting fined by the conference. Like I know K-State and Iowa State got that $500,000 fine. So this is all a mess. And I truly feel like the team that truly got screwed over out of all this was BYU. They should have at least probably been in there. I'm glad that James Madison, I think it's James Madison, right? James Madison's in there just to put more eyeballs on them, but I feel like they're going to get blown out.
Yeah, James Madison versus Oregon is just really, what are we doing?
Yeah, what is
Madison's
that?
Got to go to Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon's 5th. I get Oregon. So here's what I'd say. I like the Texas Tech's up there at 4th.
Right.
But to fix all this in my mind, I'll just say this. Alabama would have been in. They just would have been in, period, because the SEC championship game should be played of Georgia versus A&M. Should be the highest 2 seeds in college football playoff rankings. Like, that should be the tiebreaker for all this. It should be the highest. Texas A&M lost 1 game this whole season, yet missed the championship to an Alabama team that now has 3 losses, but had lost 2 games this season. I granted only 1 in conference, but you lose. You played Florida State. You lost to Florida State. You scheduled Florida State. Right. I'm sick and tired of no one will play each other out of conference anymore if this doesn't happen. Listen, OU played Michigan this year. I don't think they were doing that if it was like, oh no, maybe we won't make the playoffs. Right. They still made it.
They made it.
They beat Michigan at home. I mean, you know what? You're doing it to yourself. Like if you're Texas and you don't want to schedule Ohio State to start the season out, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to go 5-6 years back and go, you pansies, you're not going to schedule Ohio State in 5 to 6 years from they get Julian Sayin on campus. Right. We don't know that. Is Oklahoma State going to get a ton of street cred here because we play Alabama in a couple of years and it possibly harm us in the same situation? Like if we play an Alabama team that ends up having 2 losses and it's, I don't know, they lost to Alabama and then they lost the Big 12 championship game or whatever. I can just see it all folding out for the Big 12 teams to get screwed in this way. And this is really my annoyance. It's like you've got Texas A&M, Georgia, OU, and Alabama. How many more teams do you need? I mean,
they want the whole conference at this point.
and listen, like,
I mean, they did have a great conference because I feel like Vandy should be also a contender in this too.
I'm all for Vandy being in as well, but if you can't figure out a schedule to have these teams play each other during the regular season, or they do and then they lose and that's what happens, then that's what happens. I just don't think this should have ever been a 12-team playoff. We went too big, too quick. We got way out beyond our britches, and we don't know what we're doing anymore. It should have been 1. It should have never been a 14 playoff. But I'll should have been a 16 playoff with 2 first-round byes. The first 2 teams, Power 5 winners, and 1 at large, and that's it. That's done. Or in one group of 5, and that's it. But like, we're going to give JMU the carrot and stick because they're going to play Oregon. But why do they not get to play Tulane?
Right. Why couldn't they play Tulane? That feels like that would have been better. It's the playoffs. You gotta, do whatever. But if you're really helping out these smaller schools, then you're letting one of them host. Yeah.
And you're also having them play the other team they are most competitive with ranking wise. I mean, we're not having Texas Tech play GMU, and they're separated by 1 seed in their opponent, Texas Tech and Oregon. So, and also, I mean, the Big Ten only having 3 teams in, the SEC having 4, the Big 12 getting 1, the ACC getting 1.
Yep.
It means everyone's mad.
Yep.
Yeah, let's give all the teams more. Let's give these college football playoff people who clearly know exactly what they're doing. Let's give them more teams to choose from and leave someone else out, like you said, right?
Right.
I just think that the champion should have the first round bye.
Yep.
Let's go back to that. Because then you still have all the champions except for Ohio State here, weirdly enough, are have the first round bye, and all of a sudden you have you would technically you'd have Duke in my theoretical mix. You'd have the ACC championship. Right. They're the other Power 4 conference.
Did they technically get ranked after winning or no? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Let me go look.
I don't know in the whole deal if they end up getting ranked or not. I just wouldn't have. I wouldn't let it be. Well, gosh, they have Ole Miss too. So what? The SEC has 5 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is just screwed up.
We can tell that it's obviously they like to favor one conference, and I get why they're doing it because that has so much money. That conference has so much money, at least concerning football, because Texas is a very heavy where they can dish out a lot of money and don't have a lot of fans. So I totally understand that, but also at the same time, we're just not making it an equal playing field for everybody. And that's what really drives some people up the wall. Now, of course, Notre Dame is still mad that they're not winning in it. In your logic, would they make it in the conference that you have? I think it would be a yes.
If Notre Dame played in the ACC,
yeah,
then they can play it out. They can figure out if they're going to be in or not. If Notre Dame doesn't want to be in a conference, then this is what's going to happen sometimes. And also, this whole thing's being rewritten so that in 2030, they won't ever have to deal with this ever again. Notre Dame will be in if they don't. I would say money doesn't ruin everything.
Right.
Money is not the root of all evil. Nothing like that. I've never been in that mindset as a person. But man, the amount of money that's being thrown around right now for all these teams and conferences and player personnel and the schools all getting bigger and stuff like that, just like physically, schools just need to buy more and more campus area across the U.S. to keep growing. It's like they're on the, it's like we're going to look in, next week we're going to see OU is on the S&P 500. Yeah, I mean, just like a stock. I mean, really it is. And like, they're going to have everything going like this because it is just such an infinite expansion to what ends.
Yeah.
Stillwater will get above 50,000 people. And hey, we'll get a target. But that, my whole rant here is basically, this is just only a certain amount of teams should have a shot at making the cultural playoff.
So then
just only a certain amount of teams.
Right.
And it should not be 5 teams from one conference should never have the option.
I mean, I will admit, at least we have more of a say for the champion. Like, yes, we have 12 teams at least battling it out, which I'm glad for, because I just remember OSU was like, whenever we had our chance to potentially go to the national championship game, we lost because we lost to Iowa State, and we were like, the percentage was like 1/100th of a point or something like that, where we didn't go, and it was Alabama LSU, most exciting game ever. Not, but that's the reason why we didn't go, is because of the voting, and it was literally by 1,000th of a tick or something like that. And so it's just like, I'm okay with it at least being a playoff so that we can see the progression of getting to the championship game, which is like March Madness. Now, March Madness gets away with it because they have 64 teams, and, there's a lot more chance that your team's going to make it. Now, in football, it's just a little bit harder to break it out so far in advance. I feel like what they have right now is probably the best solution-ish. It's better than the 4-team playoff, that's for sure.
100% better than the 4-team playoff. But the 4-team playoff, at least, was brought to you by, Cincinnati makes it in over Oklahoma State because we couldn't beat Baylor a couple, in 2021. You've got teams that are more interesting. I mean, I'm seeing a rematch in the first round game of a regular season game that was already played where the underdog in that game won on the away team site.
Yep.
In OU, Alabama. Why do I need to see OU beat Alabama now at home?
Right.
I don't need to see, I know the answer to this question. It was already answered. Same with Miami and Notre Dame. It was already answered this season. It was answered recently. I would much rather see Alabama play Oregon and OU play JMU, or whatever we're doing. And you got to tell me if you're an OU fan, you're like, we beat this team already once. And instead of us being able to play Tulane or Miami, or JMU or even Oregon, we've got to play a team that's already played us once. We know how hard it is to beat a team twice in the season.
Right.
It's like you're setting it up for Alabama, Indiana the next week, which, listen, the Rose Bowl this year could not be more rosy. I wish if this was not an Oklahoma State fan podcast, the color code for Indiana, Alabama, and OU, which, if you haven't figured it out, Alabama OU winner plays Indiana in the Rose Bowl. And all of their colors are maroon, almost rose. I mean, it's just shout out to everyone whoever figured that out. But maybe that's why it is. Maybe it's all just, hey, you know what? We wanted to put we wanted the true Rose Bowl. The rosiest team. But we know it's not that, and we know it's all just a joke. That's what I'd say. If you're going to fix the college football playoffs, how many teams would be able to go in? That's because I think that's the first question,
right?
And then we can work our way out from there on another podcast and fix it over this whole offseason. But how many teams would you have in first?
I don't like the 4. I feel like this 12. It could have worked on the 12. Also, it didn't work. I feel like 16 would probably be the best, but it just this was like the perfect season for this to be the worst, just for it to be 12, you know? So I'm either leaning towards 12 or 16 or maybe 8. I don't feel like we need that many.
Yeah, if you're a frequent listener of the podcast, everyone knows I listen to a bunch of the Ryan Russillo podcasts, and his one sticking point so far has been with this cultural playoffs is that there's just too many teams that have a chance of making it. There's just too many teams that have an opportunity. And he probably has other sticking points and other opinions you can have about him whatsoever. There's a bunch of podcasts to listen to. It's not just his. But that sticking point is the one that I agree with the most, is that you should listen, if you're OU, you lose 2 games, you probably should just have a shot just like everyone else who has lost 2 games. So it's just not an anti-OU thing. But it is I think it should be this year. We could play it tomorrow, and I think it'd be Indiana versus Georgia, and then we got a champion. That's
right.
it. And I don't think it's that hard. And so for me, it would be 8 teams. And it would be without any teams changing conferences as a B, and you have 1 in from the Big 12, 1 in from the ACC, 2 from the Big 10, 2 from the SEC. So we're at 6. And then you have 1 at large, 1 group of 5, and you're moving on. And if that at large team is an extra Big 10 or extra SEC, is what it is. Or if it's an extra BYU, then it is. You know what I mean? Like, why does OU get a shot, but BYU doesn't?
Right.
That's at the end of the day, that's really Alabama. I'm not going to penalize them for losing their conference championship game and talk about their 3 losses supposed to be BYU's 2. I'm not going to penalize them that way. But you lost to multiple different teams throughout the season. And if Alabama beats Georgia, we're not talking about this.
Yeah, for sure.
But Alabama should never have played.
Mm-hmm.
This clearly should have been OU or A&M or Ole Miss versus Georgia. And in my opinion, it's probably Ole Miss versus Georgia. That's what should have happened. And then you and I can consider around here and go, all right, well, you know what, Ole Miss, they got bow raced and yada yada, whatever, and they should have. But then all of a sudden, we're talking about a different thing. We're not talking about which team on the end gets in, but shouldn't get knocked out because they lost the championship game. The team, you shouldn't lose out because you lost the championship game. You just shouldn't.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't make it because you won the championship game when you were already in. The championship game should be for the effect of seeding, which is really what we can tell. Indiana beat Ohio State. They flipped. That's what happened.
Right.
Georgia did not move up above Ohio State. I didn't realize I was this opinionated about it, Trey. I gotta be honest. There's just so many different reasons and issues I have.
We went down a rabbit hole that you were not expecting.
Oh no, it's in the summary, my guy. I planned it out, but I put this together. This is me typing this out here. So hit me with all the spell checks, but actually, really DM me. Don't publicly humiliate me on the spell checks. But this is like this is the best and the worst way college football happens, because you and I are talking about teams that should not have more of an opportunity.
Right.
And then when it comes to March Madness, which is just a couple clicks back here as a topic, we're wanting more and more teams to get in.
Right.
And we don't want more than 64 or 68. We just want you know how awesome it would be if JMU ran the table and this guy who's going to be the UCLA head coach next year wins the college football playoffs, or gets to I think the way this is laid out, I think Texas Tech plays in the Cotton Bowl. Like, what if JMU beats Oregon, goes to Eugene, beats them in Autzen Stadium, and then goes to Texas Tech? Like, what if Tulane beats Ole Miss? Ole Miss doesn't have their current head coach. You mean there's just, I mean, that's
so many options.
That's basically the only,
Yeah.
What if Tulane beats Georgia? Like, I do wish for a minute that I wasn't such a huge Oklahoma State fan, so people could understand that I really loved the Boise State beat OU because it was sick. Like, it was truly college football at its
peak,
at its coolest.
Yep.
Of like, the crazy man Chris Peterson with the crazy quarterback Jared Zabransky, who was the cover of the NCAA football game. They were on like three different trick plays to win the game. They were on hook and ladder, they were on Statue of Liberty, and they ran I can't forget the other one. But you know, like, how awesome that was? That was it's a Fiesta Bowl game. That wasn't even like the championship game. It's a BCS game. But it's like, okay, how cool can it be when UCF, who at the time was not in the Big 12, knocks off Auburn?
Right. Crazy.
It's so cool when that happens.
Oh, yeah. It's like the Cinderella story that everybody wants.
We all want to see it. We all want to see. I live for the fact that UCF is still like, no, we're 2017 national champions. We didn't lose the game that year. And we beat the one team. And we beat the team that won the national championship. They beat Auburn, who beat Alabama that year.
Right.
Like, I'm all for the fun of it. So when Notre Dame is like, nope, we're so offended, we're out. I'm like, can we just take a step back and not be so serious about it? Can we just not be so serious?
You don't want to be a part of the Pop-Tart Bowl or whatever?
Play it out.
I know.
You know what? If you're Notre Dame, go try to beat the crap out of BYU.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years back in 2021, you couldn't beat an Oklahoma State team with a brand new head coach, Marcus Freeman. But maybe that was a fluke. Maybe this year you would beat the Big 12 team on a neutral field. Maybe you would. I'm not going to say you wouldn't. I mean, if you're Notre Dame, if you're any school, don't you try to fight to prove them wrong?
Right.
Instead of letting them be right and walking away?
Yeah.
And that's just what this seems to me. It just seems like BYU went, yeah, we'll play in it. Will you? And they go, no, we're good. We hold ourselves to be higher standards.
Right.
So
it's always fun. There's always some type of drama in sports,
that is the most general statement you've ever made, but it's very true.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much drama in sports. Yeah, Chris Paul got kicked off the Clippers during the middle of the night at 3 a.m. one night this past week.
That does suck, though. I will admit that.
Future assistant coach Chris Paul for the Oklahoma State Thunder. Yeah, I mean, it does suck. Yeah. So, anyways, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's dog is almost as big as Chris Paul, is what I've learned this offseason from the Netflix documentary in Starting Five. But at this point, if you're listening to this still, shout out. Trey, any other final thoughts on the cultural playoffs that I clearly talked a lot about?
Right now, I'm okay with everything that worked out. I know that there's probably going to be 2 easy wins on the first ones, but you never know. Maybe this is going to give them more motivation to actually play and beat Oregon, or something may magically happen. You never know. But it's also like going to be interesting how many people are going to start opting out. Usually, I think those playoff teams usually stick with it the whole entire time, but I do remember where there's multiple games where a lot of people were opting out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens coming up, to see if anybody does opt out of the bowl games.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is that there's just so many teams that are declining because they don't have a coach in place. They don't have a head coach, and that's usually what happens in years past. It just seems like there was so much more of an influx this year of coaching changes.
Yep.
So like Iowa State not playing it without their head coach Matt Campbell, just still play the game. Like, don't you want to give your seniors one last film, one last game together? Don't you still want to play the game? I do totally agree with the. I mean, at least 7 teams that finished 5 and 7 have declined a bowl bid. Well, the teams
they all suck.
The Birmingham Bowl is really what's screwing us up. They're trying to find someone to play Georgia Southern, and they've had to turn to 5 and 7 teams. And there's at least 7 teams that have opted out of it, which, and then 3 bowl eligible teams: Notre Dame, Iowa State, and Casey have opted out against playing the games. Iowa State was 8 and 4, and they're opting out. Pretty weird. And of course, like the 5 and 7 teams. I mean, Florida State, Auburn, UCF, Baylor, KU, Rutgers, and Temple. If I'm UCF and it's the Birmingham Bowl, go play it, guys.
Yep.
Like,
get some money.
KU, Rutgers, go get 15 more days of practice.
Yep.
You get 15 extra days of practice. That's a whole spring practice. Anyways, I don't understand it, but of course I won't. And also, don't you get like an incentive money-wise to go play in those games? Like, don't you get a kickback or something? And
you get something.
Players all get to go have more camaraderie and go get gifts from the bowl game. And even if it's like $100 or something, which maybe nothing to them with NIL money now, isn't there still a reason to go do these things?
There should be a reason.
One would think. Well, Trey, with all that being said, follow out the CGA Tour. And if you got anything, hit us up. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey Cowboy fans, today's episode is brought to you by Oakley Burklow, your go-to independent insurance agent and proud OSU alum. Oakley helps with home, auto, life, and business insurance, working with multiple top-rated insurance companies to find you the right coverage at the right price. Licensed in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Call 918-280-9068 or email oakley.burklow@connectmyinsurance.com. Personal service, honest advice, and a fellow poke helping you protect what matters.